single by myself for like 15 years, so I'm new to the prayer world. So,
Well, we're glad you're here.
I'm Ava. I got my license 2 weeks ago, and this is my
Awesome. Hey.
I'm Adrienne, and I am just getting my license. Just submitted for it yesterday, so it's coming. I've been to a couple of night classes. One. And I've got 4 kids at home. They're starting to graduate, so I'm excited to get started.
How old are your kids?
I've got one who just graduated last year, a stepson, and my oldest is graduating this year. I have a 17-year-old, 13-year-old.
We probably would have a lot to talk about. those years. Yep. Awesome.
My name's Courtney. I got licensed at the beginning of March, and I got into real estate sales because I've been an investor for the past 7 years, and I just wanted to do more with investing. It's kind of a similar story a little bit. But as I've started doing the buy sell part, really been surprised how much I love it and how much I am looking forward to just helping people solve their problems and live their dreams through real estate. I think there's so many ways to do that. So I am finding the creativity I was looking for when I decided to do it. So
Awesome. Great. Taryn?
Taryn. Trying to get back to it. Real estate world.
Are you a caveman?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm just excited to be doing this. Limited right now.
How long have you been licensed?
I've been licensed for so almost 2 years. I got in. Some things came up that pulled me away from it. Went and did back for a bit, working software development. Had an injury that I couldn't really sit, so I'm reconsidering real estate. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're glad you're here. And where are you originally from? Okay. You have a little bit of an accent. Awesome. And you said how long you've had your license? Nice. Good. Well, that's some good variety. One of the best things about having a good variety is that we get to learn from each other where we are. My husband keeps repeating this quote to our kids all the time the last 2 weeks, is that you're best prepared to teach the person that you just were, right? So if you just passed your test 2 weeks ago, then helping the people that are going through that right now. And as we go through, then we're learning more things, being able to, whether it's your parenting or whatever. So my kids are adopted, and we had some friends that we had failed adoptions, and then our friends had one, and nobody else could understand, but we were able to. And I guess sometimes that just makes it nice, right?
Yeah, you're right. We should talk about that. So
Oh.
you were totally right.
Yes. Yeah. I know. Yeah. So And I am an open book, so you guys can reach out to me anytime about anything. That's one of the best things about Keller Williams. So kind of wish I had made a slide with my information on it, but it's Adrienne Donner, and I'll give you guys my phone number. It's 801-664-8754. Again, Adrienne Donner. And I'm part of the Red Sign team. So for those who know, they are the #1 team in the state. So, all right, here we go. Our team is, yep. #1 most reviewed, second highest for gross commission income, stuff like that. But that will not be the case anymore. Our team's gonna be, I mean, we're still growing. Yeah. Yep. A little bit, yep. It's all fun though. They have almost like twice as many agents as we do. And we do almost as much business that they do. Yep. So, okay, well, for those that were here in session 1, you would have discussed a little bit about the value proposition of Keller Williams. Today we're going to talk about, oh, hold on, this one. So that was Spark Your Career. Today we're going to talk about embracing your job and describing a little bit more about what your job is as a real estate agent. So do you guys all have your participant guide? They didn't even give them to you on like digitally or anything?
Might have gotten them at some points, but
Okay.
it's
Interesting. Well,
You recommend?
I do, because some of the activities we're gonna do are gonna look back at that. And they don't have slides on here, so we'll have to figure that out. But I can pull them up on my computer if I need to. Okay. So in today's agenda, these are the things that we're going to kind of go over today. We're going to talk about a new way of thinking, so kind of our mindset. Some more about KW culture that'll come in, the value from KW and our market center. That's what MC stands for, is our market center. That's what this is. We have the market center, which is KW Westfield. We also have the 2 satellite branches of KW Westfield, and that's the one in Mapleton and the one in, they call it Cedar Valley, but it's technically Eagle Mountain. We'll talk about some more KW resources, your vision, the success system. That is going to be key to getting started. And then we're gonna recap and do your ahas. And that is one of my favorite things that we do here at Keller Williams. They always ask, what are your ahas? What are your takeaways? What is the one thing from today that you're going to take with you and implement starting today, kind of thing. Okay. Okay, before we jump into that, I just want to know, what excites you guys most about real estate? What kind of got you into this? Because 120 hours of schooling, kind of have to have a desire to get through that. So it wasn't the most exciting classes, right? Yes.
What drove me into real estate is because it's a great investment opportunity. Another thing, part of why I consider real estate is because I do really enjoy meeting people. I like selling to them, no, but I like meeting people.
Awesome. Anybody else? Yeah, Amy? And who's that? Okay, awesome. Anybody else? Yeah.
I just think there's so much possibility. It's kind of exciting to think like not only can you build a foundation of wealth for you and your family, but you can teach other people to do that and help them. You can change people's lives by helping them, even just buy their own house if you
Yep.
like changing. So like the possibility for having a big impact on someone's life is pretty big in real estate. And then the impact on your own life is really big. So I was probably driven to it by the impact on my own life. But then as I've started doing it, I'm realizing the impact it can have on other people.
Absolutely. Love that. Scarlett, what about you?
I love real estate. I always have, and I personally have wanted to own a ranch, and I'm gonna figure it out. And I'm very passionate about seller financing and learning those things because I want to empower other people. And again, it's just echoing what Courtney said, changing people's lives.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm working on a seller finance deal right now. I've had multiple different people offer their version of the seller finance stuff. I'm like, I don't like the way this is worded. But that's the thing about seller finance is you can get so creative with it. And yeah, so I love that we kind of lead out on that. We talk about that a lot in this office and especially on our team. We do a lot of seller finance because it's another way to help sellers build generational wealth because they can continue to receive money on the bank's money, which I love. So does anybody want to read this quote for us? Thank you.
Anyone can do it. Not everyone will you?
That's a good one. So Gary Keller is the founder of Keller Williams, and this was from the Millionaire Real Estate Investor book. Okay, these slides are not the same slides on my. Well, that's fun. Oh, hold on. Because these were all from Wednesday's class. I was like, this is not what I prepared
This was
for.
the embrace your job. It's like, doing spark your career.
No, I think that this one, embrace your job. Like that looks, I mean, it's the same front slide, but okay. Mike, this makes blankets. Oh, I don't, there's shirts over there. No. You can get up and walk around if that helps make some heat. I'm not the one that gets to decide that. Okay, so this looks better. I was like, that didn't really make sense on that. Okay, today's agenda, we're going to go over the 6 core competencies of a business. Recognize your role as a fiduciary for your clients. Review the success system. And then we're going to recap, and then you'll have time to dive into your daily success system. Which, has Cameron gone over that with you guys, your timing and how to do your schedule or anything? Courtney says yes. Anybody else feel like? Okay. Yeah, I'm like, it's always hard to know where people are, and it says, oh, well, now you'll do this. I'm like, do they know they're gonna do that? So, okay, cool. Okay, here are the 6 core competencies of a business. And let's just start reading those. Mariah, will you start with number 1?
Lead generate, capture, and convert.
Okay. Ava? Amy?
Show buyers and market sellers.
Right, and negotiate contracts.
Okay, in turn. 6, manage the money. Okay, so knowing kind of what we just went over with our agenda and these 6 core competencies, what do you think you want to learn from this today?
more systematized thing, like be more methodical and intentional about my day and how I'm structuring my business.
Awesome. Anybody else? What do you want to get out of today's class?
For me, I'm my number one, so. But I don't want to do number one until I know what I'm gonna do on 2 and 3, right? Because I don't want to have a problem of having all these leads coming to me when I'm not ready, so. I guess I'm kind of just saying, starting at the beginning, learning about, that's where I'm at, it's starting my database.
That's awesome. I spent so much time waiting for me to get a bunch of systems in place to get started, and it was the wrong way to go about it. So sometimes it's hard because you want to have those systems in place and know, okay, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And it definitely gives confidence, but waiting just means you might miss out on opportunities and that practice that you can get as you go through. We'll talk more detail about that and how to do it. If I had to do it differently, I'd be out telling more people what I did faster. So a lot of people saw on my social media that I was doing investing, but not a lot knew that I was doing this side of it. And that was fine at first, but then I was like, I really need to get that out there. And now it's like, well, I've been doing it this long. Is it weird to just call people up that I know I haven't talked to in a few years and say, hey, I'm in real estate, like, you know, or you know, and it, anyway, so just kind of getting that out there. My situation was a little different, I think, than most people because, I mean, have you guys ever done the exercise where you open up your phone, see how many contacts you have in there? And who had the most contacts in their phone?
Somebody had like over 1,000. The young kids, they have the most, like all these 18-year-olds
My
and
OCD can know
22-year-olds.
If I don't know them, then I like to know who they are because I haven't seen them since like middle school. I believe.
How many contacts do you have, Mariah? Scroll to the bottom.
I guarantee it's not as much.
I have over 1,000.
105.
105?
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good place to start for that age, yeah.
Especially if those are all like contacts that you actually are in contact with.
Yeah.
That's really good.
So, and we'll kind of go into that and challenge that a little bit on who she has in there. But in my database, I always win that competition. I came here with 3,000 and now I have 4,100 or something in my contacts. Do I stay on top of all of them? No, that's a little overwhelming. I need to hire an assistant or a VA that will do more of that for me.
Or you would make a greater effort to let people know.
Mhm.
In what capacity? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so we started, so my husband is licensed. He doesn't do this full time yet. He works for the Red Cross. He's the executive director. And so he gets to meet a lot of cool people. So we're leveraging that and adding them to our database all the time. And then we systematically will be like, okay, now's the time to make sure they know that we have this other side of what we do in our household. And we started sending letters to people, reminding them, people in our neighborhood that we thought they all knew that this is what I did, what we do. And I went to church on Sunday. He's like, oh, we got your letter. I had no idea you were in real estate. Well, it's a good thing I sent my letter. So, so that was awesome. Yeah. Mhm.
How the heck, do you remember who they are, how you met them? Because I've been trying to put notes in there as best I can, like, this is who this person is, because I'm terrible with names. Well, I'm not gonna say that. I have had a weakness with remembering people's names. No more.
That's right. There you go.
But how do you remember? I mean,
I
can
don't.
forget my best friend's name. Well, I go, what? Who are you?
I'm not really good at remembering everything. However, I'm really good at making really good. I'm pretty good at making notes. So whenever I add somebody in my contacts, I add how I know them, like where did I meet them. So I have a whole lot of them that I'm like, oh, I met at this real estate event, and I might not have talked to them again, but I have their information because of that. And now I can email them or call them up and say, hey, remember we crossed paths of this thing? What are you up to now? And so, but knowing that that's where I met them, okay, well, I already know they're real estate minded, investor minded. So are you still working on that? What's, your path that way? So I was going to try and pull up my spreadsheet here, but it might take me a minute.
Call everyone, or do you text them, or do you?
It's a little bit of everything. I hate calls. I really, really hate making calls. But what I do like doing is meeting people in person. So I do a lot of lunches. I do a lot of networking events. Try to repeat, see the same people over again, right? So that we have that at least quarterly interaction. And my database is not just mine, it's my husband's. So we've blended all of those in there. So he has some from his master's degree program, Thunderbird. And they meet once a month already. And so we get to see them at least once a month and remind them what we're doing and help them with their businesses. And that's a big thing that we like to do. And something my husband was really big at last year was calling his SOI up and saying, what's one thing that right now you need the most help with, whether it's personal or business or whatever? People are like, oh, let me get back to you. Or they would say, oh, I really need help getting, my sister-in-law, I asked her this. She goes, oh, well, we have this leak in our house and I really need to get this mold taken care of before our son starts his chemo. And I'm like, I've got a guy for that. So, and he did it, he just took care of it for him. So that's another good business relationship, is to have your vendors that you trust. And I love him so much, and he took care of them and got rid of all that mold and fixed the sink that they hadn't used in like 6 years. And it's kind of funny, but
That's what I need help with, even though I don't talk to you.
yep. When you sound sincere on the phone and you're like, I really want to help you. I mean, it's not like the first thing we say, right? You do your small talk, the Ford method. Have you guys learned the Ford method? Okay. Courtney, remind us what Ford method is.
Occupation, recreation, dreams.
Right. So when you start your conversations, of course, everybody wants to talk about their family first, right? Oh, how are the kids? What are they doing in school? Oh, yeah. What are their recreation activities? Oh, your kids are playing soccer all the time? That's so great. Where's your last tournament? How are your kids feeling about it? And you just start diving into that stuff as you're building that relationship with them. And then recreation, we kind of went over that. Oh, my favorite question is, what kind of trips do you guys have planned this year? I love to travel. I like to know where other people are going and learn from, your travel tips or whatever. And so that's always a fun one. And that falls under dreams, right? Or recreation. So, and then work. So especially if we talk about work, their occupation, whether you're a mom or whatever, and it's like, okay, well, now we've had that chit chat. We'll just then ask, oh, well, before we get off the phone, is there anything you guys really use help with? Is there just one thing that we could do to help you or take off your plate or whatever? And so we always try to add value that way. So when you come from a place of contribution, it's a whole lot easier to have conversations. When you're not on there to say, I need to sell them. I need them to give me a referral or buy from me right now. You sound salesy when you have that mentality, when you're like, okay, what can I do to help them right now? So you got to figure out where they are to be able to know what you can do to help them. Okay, so any other questions on that before we move on this? Okay, so we'll dive into some more of these as we go. So 6 core competencies, the lead generation capture and convert to appointments. We'll talk about that one for a second. Okay, so this is your main job. We say, as Gary Keller says, in any business, you have two jobs. You have your job and your marketing. Your main job is your marketing. You market yourself, however you do that, your phone calls, your 36 touch, your social media, all of that stuff goes into your marketing side. If you're not marketing, if you're not out there lead generating, then what do you have? How good is your business if you don't have your own leads, if you don't have business coming in, right? So that's the number one most important thing of any business is your lead generation. So I know a lot of people that own businesses, and most of them have this second problem on here. They don't capture it. They don't hold on to that. Carpet cleaners, right? They go out, they clean the carpet, they go on to the next thing. And they're just constantly lead generating for new people. But they're not holding on to that information in a database and remarketing to them and reminding them of how great it was, their service was, and trying to get referrals from that. And so that's where they lose out on a lot of opportunity because they already got that lead, right? They already did business with them once. So then it's just reminding them. And that's where we kind of do our 36 touch that have they talked about 36 touch with you guys yet? Some of you? Okay. See, again, I'm like, I don't know how much you already know. And I feel like I just say all of your acronyms and whatever. You guys haven't even learned them yet. So 36 touch, when you're going through and you've got your leads and you've captured them, in order to stay top of mind, to make it so that you are more likely for them to call you over every other real estate agent they might know, is you have to stay top of mind. And so Gary Keller teaches in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book that we need to have at least 36 touches a year. Well, yeah, 12 newsletters that you could send out an email, 4 phone calls, events, your social media. If you have it systemized where you know that you're going to comment, all you have to do is comment on something so that your name pops up on theirs again. Like, oh yeah, she's there. And then they just, as long as they know that you're in real estate and they continue to see your name, they're going to remember. And the algorithms on all those social media things, the more you interact, the more they're going to see your stuff. So making that kind of systemized, and actually now they say it's 72 touch, not 36. So if you figure it out, like I just read something where it walked it backwards, and that means you need to have a touch once every 10 days or once every 5 days. Well, that's how, if you're putting something on social media, that increases the chance that they're going to see that. It doesn't mean you have to be in their face. It doesn't all have to be real estate related. It's just reminding that you're there. So don't get stressed about that. All the Ignite classes will walk you through all the stuff you need to do to prepare for that. Okay. We will go through tons in Ignite about lead generation and how to capture them and convert them in future classes. And then obviously converting them to appointments, because if we don't move them down the pipeline, we're not going to have any closings business. Okay, present to buyers and sellers and get agreements. So this would be your appointments, right? So you'll have your packet of information. I know Ritz, he's the assistant that helps you guys with a lot of the stuff. I don't know if you've seen him on stuff. That guy is brilliant. He's a VA in the Philippines. And I mean, the guy just, I will message him, and I'm not even on this team anymore or whatever, but hey, Ritz, I need this, and bam. Always. It doesn't matter time of day. And he's on the other side of the world. I'm like, you should be sleeping right now. WhatsApp or email. I've got his email. Yeah, from a long time ago. Yeah, because I started where you guys are on this team. It'll be 3 years in September. Now, I had been on another team for 8 months and had done several deals before I came here. So I didn't have all the same processes that you guys get now. But yeah, but that's when we first got introduced to Ritz. He's Shoney's highly trained VA, so he's fantastic. So if you ever have questions, reach out to him. But he helps organize things. You guys will have a whole area of like social media stuff that you can change the posts that he has already templates for you. He'll do it for you. Say, oh, I'm gonna have this open house. He'll make your flyers. He'll make your social media posts. All that stuff will come from him, and he's fantastic. Okay, any questions? Okay, so as you're preparing your consultation, so he'll have sample ones for you to use that you can keep it the same, you can add to it. A lot of times it's really good to just make sure that at least you have your, I don't know, quote unquote resume, or even just a little message from you in there somewhere that has your picture and what it is that you feel like sets you apart. It doesn't have to be anything big, just, oh, I'm passionate about getting into this. I want to help you XYZ, whatever it is that has got you in there, is a good place to start as you're presenting. Okay, the third one is show buyers and market sellers. I think it's funny that they say it like that, but obviously you're showing buyers houses, right? In order to show them houses, you have to know what they want. And how do you know what they want? You talk to them. Yeah, you have to have conversations. That's why we want to have, and now we actually have to, at this law that's passing, we have to have that consultation where we sit down and we get them to sign the agreement. So you've got to figure out how to build rapport with them, show them what you're going to be able to do to help them as their buyer's agent, and why you deserve a 3% commission. So that's where we'll walk you through that in future lessons on what that packet and what those meetings are like. Your buyer, we like to say consultation, because we're consulting with them. Same thing with sellers, right? Like, oh, why is it that you're moving now? Where do you want to go? And finding that motivation. On our team, we do the LTP MAMA, and that's location, timing, oh my goodness, price, thank you. Whether they have a mortgage already in place, are they working with an agent already, motivation, and then appointment. And that's getting to the appointment. So we ask all those preliminary questions if we can on a first phone call or whatever, and then we get together and meet with them. And the questions are slightly different for a seller over a buyer, but we still try to go through those same LTP MAMA is what we call them, which is such a weird thing to say, but we just get in the habit. And it's like the Ford method. When you get on the phone and you just remind yourself, okay, these are the things I need to ask. And then it just makes it easier to remember all those things. Like, oh, I forgot to ask what their budget was on this. And then you have to call them back and figure that out before you send them listings or that kind of thing. So as you're preparing for your consultation. And then with the marketing listings for sellers, that's right. In your packet, you should have a plan of how you are going to market their property to get it sold, more than just say, hey, I'm gonna put it on the MLS and hope for the best. That's one really great thing that I love about Red Sign Team is we have 3 inside sales reps, and we answer every phone call that comes in within 5 minutes. So if they call on our signs, people drive by and they say, oh, I'm curious about that house. The call either gets answered immediately or they're called back within 5 minutes. Otherwise they forget about it, or they're on to the next, like especially if you're on a website and they call an agent from the website, oh, I'm just gonna call the next agent that I see or whatever. So speed to lead is important. Okay, the fourth one is write and negotiate contracts. That kind of comes back to the Rep C, right? Studying and knowing what it is. This is one of those things that we all stress about when we're getting started. Like, I want to make sure I do this the right way because it protects you, it protects them. So understanding the Rep C is hugely important. I have taken so many classes going through it again and trying to remember, even like presenting it upside down, right? So if you're at the table and you're being able to say, this section says this, and this section says this, and this is how it protects you. And when you know it like that, then people are more confident in you and your ability to protect them. So those will be, again, things that will come up in, come on. How did we skip? Okay, so 5 is coordinating the sale to closing. And that would be things like getting the keys for the buyer from the seller or the seller's agent, and helping your seller all make sure that they are on time to get out and their house is left in the way that it's supposed to be. And getting to the closing table, making sure that all the documents are done, that they have a copy of it, title has it, the lender has all the things they need, and then you go to settlement, right? We all call it closing, but it's technically settlement. Is where you go and they sign all the paperwork. And then closing is what happens after it funds and records. Do not let people move into a house until it's closed. I've had agents like up in arms, but I'm not, no, I'm sorry. I don't care if the house is vacant. You're not moving in until the funding is done. Oh, they were up in arms. They're like, oh, it's going to do it. I'm like, well, I don't know that your buyer for your house is going to fund so that ours gets funded. So you're not moving in. And oh, his client so mad at me. I'm like, well, I'm sorry. If there was whatever reason it didn't and you moved in, so much liability that could happen from that, or the damage, or what if it caught fire as you were moving in when it's not your house yet? Things like that, that it's real estate. You just never know what's going to come up. So awesome. Okay, and then the last one, I don't know if this has a delay or if I'm pointing the wrong way. See, it skipped it. Manage the money. This can be everything from earnest money deposit, how to take care of that, to knowing how you are going to take care of the finances in your business. That first paycheck comes in, you're like, yes, I get to pay all these bills and I get to buy this. But knowing how to take care of your finances from the get-go is so important that you don't run right out and spend it all on that, because you want money for marketing. So you need to set money aside that goes for that from every closing. You need to set money aside every paycheck for your taxes that you should be paying quarterly. There's a whole course called Profitability, and that's agent financials that you can find on the Keller Williams University, and those are offered periodically in our region. So you'll get into that more. Okay, mindset. Of all the things, agents don't care where you are, what level you're at, it's your mindset is the biggest problem. Whether you have your limiting beliefs like, oh, I can't call them yet, I don't have my stuff organized, or I haven't talked to them in a long time. How are they going to know I'm credible? Are they going to like me? We all have these things, and it's like, well, okay, so I'm going to call anyway and figure it out. What difference does it make right now? But we put these things in our head and we hesitate. With calling? No, I already told you I hate calling. My coach was like, I don't know what to do with you. No, so for me, I combat that by having in-person meetings. I do a lot more in person, whether that's a pop by or a networking event or double dates.
Take it well to just pop by.
Yeah, especially, I mean, I never go empty handed generally to just pop by. It's like, oh, here's a gift. One time I did sunscreen. This was a couple years ago when the market was really heating up. Like, I don't want you to get burned, and gave them sunscreen, right? And so, but at the same time, I was doing that. We were inviting them to the Keller Splash event, which comes up. And so I'm like, oh, I've got tickets if you want to come. Just let me know how many. It's on this date and time. And it's just more about, again, saying hi. Hey, I was in the neighborhood. I was showing a house. I just want to stop by and say hi. And that's it. And people were like, oh, that's so thoughtful. Thanks for stopping by. If you're not there to try and like, oh, let me come in and do a presentation so you can buy my knives, and you know what I mean? It's not like that. You're just being a friend. That's what real estate's all about, is building those connections with people. Okay, so let's discuss some other. Let's see, this says, to achieve your highest potential, these 6 core competencies must be done consistently and done well. Consistency, that's what most agents struggle with, especially in this, because you'll have 6 clients you're working with and you're so busy showing houses and getting all the paperwork done and whatever. And you're like, oh, I didn't do my lead gen today. I didn't do this today. I didn't get my exercise in or whatever. And you're not doing your things consistently. So then you have times where, oh, I got a lot of business and now I don't have any money. And then I got a lot of business and and that's where the consistency comes in. So, so this is where your booklet would come in handy. So funny. Okay, so it says, how long on average does it take to get a buyer or seller to sign a contract for a sale or listing? They ask questions. Funny, kind of like on the test. Like, that's a little bit of a weird question. Let's see what this next one is. So generally it's 1 to 60 days, sometimes a little longer. I mean, we've had clients, I have a client right now, 2, in fact. One I met 2 years ago, April, at an open house that I did. And I think they're finally gonna buy, like right now. I finally showed her a house and got them on board. I'm like, you guys, if you had bought 2 years ago, interest rates, your payment would. Now I'm not reminding them that.
Were you on it like weekly?
No, not. So depending on how, so I started showing them, they were interested in buying then, and then their landlord pushed them to get out of their place faster than he should have. And I'm like, that's illegal. He has to honor your contract. You have until the end of May, but he was pressuring them and they gave into the, and they moved and signed another year contract. You can still kind of get out of those sometimes, but they obviously weren't as motivated. So it was more of just keeping them updated on what was going on in the market. We'd reach out, quarterly calls, our monthly emails, and then our events. So I would see them at least, minimum at least a year, once a year at our Easter event. We'll do summer events, or I call for the giveaways. We did a couple big giveaways last summer, and then we have our pumpkin patch event that we do. And so I'll see them there. Pictures with Santa, that's another one that we've done. And so being able to see people repeatedly that way, or even just calling them to invite them. They don't have to come. You called to invite them, now you've earned brownie points. Oh, that was so sweet of you to think of me. I have a friend like that. They have not made it to one event. She goes, one of these days we're gonna make it. Keep inviting us. And I love that, because then she knows that I'm calling and I care, and we have really fun events. And while you're new, sometimes those events seem like, oh my gosh, how would I do that? I only have like 5 people. How am I gonna get them to come to? So our office does 2 big events a year. but coordinate with other agents and you just go in on it together. And it could be renting out a rink for a day of ice skating or an hour of ice skating or whatever. Things that you can do that are really inexpensive. You can coordinate with lenders or home inspectors or home warranty companies or whatever, and have them help pay for part of the event so that you can have something and they can bring their clientele, which means more people for you to meet also. Yes.
Two big events a year.
Uh-huh.
How does that work? Like, getting your clients there and paying for it?
Okay, so with Keller Splash, they'll rent out Splash Summit. I'm like, what's it called now?
You never
Usually it's one day, sometimes it's two. It's in the evening and they do discounted tickets. It's like $5 or $5.50. And that's something that you would buy ahead of time. I mean, you can call your clients, find out how many you need, and then you pay for it. You can pass it on and ask your clients to pay for it. I have a lot of them that are like, well, let us pay. I'm like, no, this is me treating you to that. I think the same thing happens with the pumpkin patch. There's like a set fee on that. My team, because we have the splits with our team where they take a chunk of our commission on every deal, then they take care of all of that. They do all of the marketing. We have our in-house TC, and they organize, plan all the events. All we do is call. Have people show up, see them there, call and tell them we'll miss them, those kind of things. So, but that's usually they'll have you buy the tickets ahead of time or the wristband, something like that. So. Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know they ever did that one. But then we have our Red Day, which is next week. You guys don't know, it's our volunteer day, where it's an international Keller Williams Day. It's the second Thursday of May every year. And we shut our offices down and we go do service in the community. So next week, right now we've been collecting food for the food bank. And we're gonna go serve in the food bank. They're doing a blood drive on Monday as part of the Red Day service, things like that. And those are great opportunities to call your SOA and say, hey, we are actually doing this food drive. And I don't know if you have anything extra that you could provide, or these are the things, you know, are you willing to help us give back, because the food banks need the extra food right now, especially as kids are getting out for the summer and they don't have that school lunch or breakfast. Sometimes they get both there, so they don't get a meal if they don't get to go to school and get their food. So having the food bank have food is important. So being able to have those conversations with your clients or do social media posts about it. Let's say, hey, we're doing this right now. If you guys can donate, these are our hot items. You can drop them off at our office or call me, I'll pick them up. That gives you a chance to go see them in person and talk about stuff, right? Do your Ford and, oh yeah, when we talk about, most people, when you talk about their business and how things are going, they're going, oh, well, how's real estate? And there's your door. It opens up for you, right? Okay, and then, so we got way sidetracked after that. I met that couple 2 years ago and now they're doing it. So sometimes it takes that long. I did an open house on a listing I had in October. I closed that deal 6 weeks later. The buyer, not on that house, they bought a different house. But she came in thinking she wanted to buy that one as an investment. Didn't know what she didn't know with her 1031 exchange. I'm like, you have 45 days. You sold your other property, you have 45 days to find your next property, get under contract, get ready to buy it. Or you're going to lose that tax savings from it. And she didn't know. She just didn't understand. The people that she had done it with did not explain things well. And so I was on it all the time. And she's such a cute little old lady, remind me of my grandma. She's like, thank you so much for doing this and putting up with us. And her family was so cute. We would go see properties and there was 20 of us sometimes, which is so not common, but yep, you do what your clients need. And yeah, like making sure mom and dad are doing what they need to do. Yep. like that this is going to be the right decision. And sometimes it's like,
Right there, you save them thousands and thousands of dollars. And if you hadn't brought your expertise, they might have just lost that.
yep, no, and she definitely would have. I'm like, here, call my 1031 exchange person, and they can't help you because you've already started with this other one. I mean, I can't do it for you, but they can answer questions. And she's like, I'm using them from now on, because they did. They really went through all the things, took the time with her, and I so appreciated that. So again, talk it up for good vendors, finding good people. Ask me after and I'll look it up for you. So we can just keep moving along. Anyway, so it can be anywhere from 160 days or more, and that's if it's a hot lead, right? Sometimes, depending on the market, whether it's buyer's market or right now, or we don't have a lot of inventory, then there's more competition. So sometimes that makes it harder. Sometimes it gets your clients more motivated to get out more often and look for it and be better prepared to make a better offer than other times. But then the interest rates being so volatile, one day they can qualify and the next day they can't. And you just have to make sure that when you find the right house, that it's timing and yeah, but you don't really know if you don't stay in touch with them and keep on top of what's going on in the market. Okay, so where did that little clicker go? Am I going the wrong way? I think I'm clicking the wrong way. No? This is weird. Okay. Oh, no. Okay, so we're going on to the next part. Recognizing your role as a fiduciary for clients. This is where we needed your books. Let me see if I can pull it up on. Awesome. The participant guide. Because it has this really cool chart. I knew I was like, I need to get in there early and print it. Do you know what page it's on? Are you there? There it is. 2.7. Anybody that wants it? Yeah, I found that too. Okay. Right. And it's not connected to my computer up there, so I'm going to just have to show it to you like this. Is our chart of the functionary versus fiduciary. Do you guys have any idea what the difference is between a functionary agent and a fiduciary?
Fiduciary is somebody that is highly trustworthy. You're putting their needs in front of yours.
Yep. So if we go down this chart, that was a lovely way to sum it up. Yes. So a functionary is somebody who will do kind of a low level, basic level stuff. A fiduciary does high level. You know, they're thinking ahead. Low relationship versus a high relationship. What is the depth of that relationship you have? A functionary assumes little responsibility, where a fiduciary accepts high responsibility. It is my job to do this. I'm the one that messed up. Those kind of things that you take responsibility. Low skill versus mastering your high skill, knowing how to have those conversations, how to help your clients come to the decisions that they need to make, because it's their decision to make. Some of it is, okay, here's data, right? We'll see people all the time that will put up the stats, the market report for last month that the Board of Realtors sends out. Great, I shared that with you. Most people look at it and go, all right, there's numbers, everybody has the numbers, but what does it mean? A fiduciary is one who can interpret that data so people can use it to help them. They're big picture oriented versus narrow-minded. They advise and consult besides just giving information. They're self-directed. They don't need other people to tell them how to do it. They own the result, educate, guide. Let's see, what else does it say? Uses good judgment and intuition. They're irreplaceable, where a functionary is replaceable. and they're highly paid as opposed to a functionary is minimally paid. So part of our ethical responsibility is not to ever rag on another realtor. But sometimes there's other brokerages that do things a little differently, right? Homey, right? So not ragging on them, but they did a functionary job, not a fiduciary job. But as a licensed real estate agent and a realtor, it is your job to be a fiduciary and to tell your clients that that's what you do different. And that is really where the beauty comes into what we do, is being that different. We have more of a vested interest in what they need and their success than in ours. So why am we all over the place? I don't know why their slides are different than my slides. Manage the money. Let me see this again. Okay, so there's an activity. Want us to pair up, or we can do it together. Let's do that. Let's go through the 6 core competencies that we've talked about and talk about how we can be a fiduciary for those in those 6 areas. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Okay, so if I go back on this. There we go. So how can you be a fiduciary in your lead generation? Capture and convert. Yes.
I think it's bringing value to people in every conversation. So like I was listening to Heather Groom taught an Ignite class a while back, and she was talking about how it was back in January, and she's like, the market is surging right now. So I'm calling my clients and I'm telling them, hey, the market is surging right now. This is the best time to buy. And if you want to do an investment, just do it now, because in 6 months it's going to cost you $50,000 more. So like that is a fiduciary role. She's lead
Absolutely.
generating, but she's offering real value to her clients and letting them know that because of her expertise in the market, she has something to tell them that's going to give them an advantage.
Absolutely. Yes.
To me, it sounds like a big thing is getting that relationship first, and not hitting the ground running and being all salesy. You're wanting that friendship, you're wanting to help, and then at the end of the day, if you offer something up, then it's like you've already created that relationship, and that's what captures them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Those are great. And exactly what I would have said too. So that anticipating what their needs are and being able to provide that value for them. Okay, on presenting to buyers and sellers to get the agreement. So when you're in your appointments, how can you be the fiduciary?
Again, it's just your knowledge of the market. You have expertise. So they know that they want to sell their house. They know that they want to get the most money and do it the fastest, but you know how to proceed to get them where they want to go, right? So helping them interpret the market, helping them understand what they need to do in order to make their house the most marketable, helping them understand. So if you're buying, helping them understand, like how they can get what they want, I guess, like helping them see how your negotiating skills are going to get them a better deal, or if they're a multiple offer, how you're going to help them stand out. How you helping them understand like what their financing options are by directing them to the right person, helping them rebuild their credit when they don't have a good enough credit to qualify, or
Yeah.
just tons of different.
Those are brilliant. Anybody else have thoughts on that? Those are all really good. It's educating them through the process. And a lot of times with that first meeting, it's like drinking from a fire hose, right? And when you go through these classes, wow, there's so much information. And then having somebody that reminds you along the way, okay, now we're doing this part of it. Remember, we had this in our consultation, we talked about this step. now we're going on to this step, and this is what you can expect next. And this is what you can expect from me on the next steps. Okay, so that kind of goes into number 3 on showing buyers and marketing for sellers. You guys have any thoughts on that, on how to be a fiduciary? Like multiple offers comes in here. I think with marketing, it's more than just putting it on the MLS, right? It's making sure that it's connected to the other websites. So it syndicates there, that it's on Facebook and KSL, and you're having other ways of marketing it, sending it them a social media post so they can post in their neighborhood pages and things like that. And paying for targeted ads. Because of command, we have a really good cheap way to do Facebook ads. I don't get into that now, but there are ways to target people that are looking in that specific area for that type of house, and then they advertise to them so they see that listing more. It's taking that next step besides just, oh, I'll upload it here. Well, any agent can do that. Like, what else do you do to take it to the next level to get most eyes on it? Okay, how about number 4? How can you be a fiduciary when you're writing and negotiating contracts? Yes.
I think if I were having to explain to me, I would want to know why it is, and not just like you're reading the contract to me, of course, and you're explaining it, but like why is it that way? I would want to understand it enough so I'm not in the dark and maybe I lose thousands of dollars because I didn't get the time for the money.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know why that is what it is.
Absolutely. Yep. It's using your sound judgment and your intuition when you're writing your contracts to know, and negotiating on both sides. That's building the relationship with the agent on the other side. Not all agents answer their phones. So sometimes that's hard to build that relationship with them. But that's one of the best things. I just get on the phone. So what is it your clients are looking for in an offer? And I shut up. Oh, okay, yeah. And they tell you things they shouldn't be telling you. But that's how you learn. Now, I'm never going to manipulate somebody because of that. But I do find out things that is my responsibility then to tell my clients that can make our offer more strategic than another offer that may come in. So, for instance, finding out that the client doesn't know how they're going to make their move. I can't remember exactly what the specific issue was on this one I'm thinking of, but we put in our offer that we were going to pay for the moving truck for them. And that simple thing knew that we were mindful of them and their situation, what they needed. And that set our offer apart. We're talking like $50 for a day to rent a moving truck, you know. It's not like we were doing some big, let me give you thousands of dollars more on this. But it's being mindful of those little details. Okay, and then coordinating the sell to closing. How can you be a fiduciary?
Making sure your client always knows what the next step is, and just keeping good communication, them informed of what's just happened. Like, this deadline is coming up, and then we just passed this deadline, and everything was smooth, and so they know it's coming. Then they know how it resolves, and so they just are aware that A, you're working in their behalf, so they see it's not just like magically happening.
Yes.
And B, they are assured that everything is being taken care of. And C, if there's any part of the process that they need to participate in, they have notice, they can make the house available or answer the questions or whatever they need to do.
Absolutely. Yep. It would include things like finding a trustworthy home inspector, one that's thorough and does a good job. When we bought our house, it was like we closed on it the day before I got my license. So I had been using this other agent to buy investments and been working with him for a long time. So I'm like, I'm gonna make sure he gets paid. I'm not gonna try and cut him out of this, whatever. But he recommended an inspector. The guy was an idiot. Like, he told us things when we did the walkthrough with him that he didn't put in his report. And then there was stuff that was in his report that he didn't mention to us. And there was stuff that I pointed out that he didn't put in his report that were tens of thousands of dollars worth of value. The deck was rotting. He didn't even notice. He didn't put it in there. I hired another inspector to come in and do it again. And then I was able to get bids. That's one of my favorite ways to negotiate too. I get bids on repairs. And we can say, okay, well, here all I had probably $70,000 worth of repairs when we bought our house. And I said, this is what we're asking for, $40,000 price reduction so we can take care of these things. My agent was like, are you kidding? There's like, they had 10 offers. They'll just go on to the next one. I'm like, well, it's not gonna work for us if we can't get it at this price. I'm like, there's just so much work that needs to be done. And he's like, okay. They didn't bat an eye. They're like, yep, we're good. And we were able to close that reduced price so that we could afford to do all the repairs that that house needed. And that was the intent anyway.
Price reductions for this.
So no, what happened is that we all made a bunch of offers and they accepted one. And those people did an inspection, found out that there had been a fire in the house at some point, and that was their excuse for leaving, for backing out. We were the next best offer or whatever, so they came to us, and then we started our process of negotiating. I knew because the seller, it was her family's house, and her dad had had a stroke, her mom had died years ago. But she wrote me a letter about stuff, and I knew they were out of state and they weren't going to be able to continue to deal with this and manage it. And so I used part of that to my advantage, that I know they want this to close by the end of the year. So if they want that to happen, they're going to either negotiate more with us on the price, or they're going to have to go to the next person and start this whole process over again. So, yep. And they know, and she knew it too. She goes, I know there's so many problems with it. So, but we had built that relationship and we're still in contact with them from time to time. Okay, so, and then managing money. Oh, I went back to this one. On managing the money, how can you be a fiduciary?
I'm not an expert, but I imagine, if you know that earnest money is an issue, you can offer ideas to be flexible and offer earnest money.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just guessing, is that something?
Yep, or making sure that their earnest money is deposited in time, that they know ahead of time. A lot of times it catches people off guard because you don't really bring it up until you're writing the offer. Like, you have 4 days to get this in, and it's a holiday weekend. So if you don't do it in the next 24 hours, you're going to be late and in breach of contract. This sucks when that happens and you're like scrambling. That's why it's really good that we have the system where they can wire the funds that we use here. But it's a $25 fee, and there's people that are like, I can't do that. I'll drop off a check. They just have to make sure they get it in that window, or that you've negotiated to give them, because you know it's a holiday weekend. So you write in the contract in the addendum that earnest money, we have 5 days to get it in, or we have until this date to deposit it.
How negotiable is that? Is it pretty standard to do like 10 grand?
On the amount, it's totally negotiable on the amount. Typically, we like to say 1%. That's just a safe kind of, but again, it just depends on the price point. A lot of the first-time home buyers or lower price point don't always have that extra cash to be able to deposit into the trust account or whatever for the earnest money. So I know investors that'll do $1, but that's ridiculous. So I would say at least 500 on up. But I had the biggest deal our team ever did. I got to do that last year. And we were buying a $3.3 million property and we offered 50,000 in earnest money. And the agent on the other side is like, we will not talk to you if it's not $100,000. And that was just their standard level of, that shows that they're invested enough in it to put that much in it, right? That they're willing to put that much money down that, yeah, we're committed enough to do this deal that we'll put $100,000 at risk, essentially. But if the buyer were to or the seller to default on that in that situation, they would not only give us our earnest money back, they would have to pay that much back, or we could sue them.
Is that the case with every earnest money transaction?
Yep, that is what's written in the contract. There's like 3 different ways to resolve it. You can just accept the earnest money or the matching earnest money back. You can sue them, or there's some combination of how that works. So, but knowing that is important too. So you can be strategic on that, and those that put more earnest money down, got to make sure you stay on top of those dates. Like, well, we're getting closer to this. Are we done with all of our inspections? Do we know what's going on? And asking for an extension so you don't miss those deadlines is important too, if you can stay on top of that. Okay. All right, so what ahas do you guys have from our discussion on functionary versus fiduciary?
Lot that we do with realtors, and that helps to kind of feel more confident asking for the 3%, you know, to present the things that you agree for. This has been really helpful to see what to do to make it a value.
Awesome. What else?
I really need to educate myself better so that I kind of add more value, you know, like be the expert. I have to know the market and what it means, and be able to interpret that for my client. I have to be able to tell them, give them a heads up, give them advantages based on the knowledge that I have of the market, or different financing products that are available, or different ways to do things that they think they can't do.
Absolutely. One of the greatest things though about being at our Keller Williams office is that everybody is willing to help everybody else. So you can find these, so those that don't know, this Masters of Real Estate wall over here, you have to have a minimum production order to be up here annually. So on a rolling 12 months, you have to be doing over, well, if you're on a team that's over $6 million in gross commission income, if you're a solo agent, it's 3 million. So all of these people are doing that amount of business on an ongoing basis. Yeah.
Sales volume.
It's based on, well, I don't know.
Understand.
Right. It's not on what you take home. Well, yeah. So it's just,
Sell a lot of real estate.
it's,
on that wall.
yeah. Yeah. The way they explain it sometimes I'm like, what? Even I'm like, this long. Whatever, I'm there, I'm good. I'm on the top over there under the master word, under the R, top row. That's oh yeah. There you go. Yep. You can't tell, it's red. I'm wearing red in that. I wear red all the time. So it was only fitting that I come here. I know. So, no, but you can run into any of these people, reach out to them anytime, and they will take time to show you what they're doing and how to walk you through it. If you have a particular difficult conversation, you're like, oh, I don't know how to answer this question. And never be afraid to tell your client when they ask you something, like, I'm going to get back to you on that because I want to make sure I give you the right information. That's okay. It even shows them more your fiduciary job because you're getting back to them with that right information and not leaving them hanging. Okay, so now we're going to go over the success system. Nothing else about your business will have as big an impact on it as the number of leads that you have. So we're going to talk about being accountable. Accountable people achieve results others can only dream of. So if you're not accountable to yourself or a coach or a partner, they should be pairing you guys up to have an accountability partner that you guys talk to each other each day. Did you make your calls? Did you do the homework? And if you're not showing up and being accountable, then it makes it harder to reach your dreams and achieve those goals. Okay, so part of being accountable, when you choose an accountability partner, it doesn't have to be somebody in this group. It could be another agent up there. You could be accountable to me, Cameron. It could be your spouse or your parent or your kids. That's a good thing for teenagers. Like, I can't hang out with you or take you out to this thing until I've done my work for the day so that we can go on the cruise that we want to go on this year. And you get them to hold you accountable. Mom, did you make your calls? Did you do it? Are you on top of it?
On the line.
Yes, like we want to go. And when you have them vested in that, then that helps to hold you accountable. But accountability partner is somebody that's going to provide a safe space for you to share what's going on. They follow through. Hey, I'm going to actually call you and I want you to follow up. Tell me what's going on. They listen, they pay attention. They have their personal shares that they do. You'll want to set a frequency, like I'm going to check with you once a day or every couple of weeks, depending on what it is that you guys are working on together. You have respect for each other. You dig deep. I love that one. Like you really want to find out kind of what their dream is, like what is their motivation and help them to do that, or what it is they're struggling with so you can overcome that. Create a commitment and stick to it. Be open to receiving feedback. Give specific feedback and have each other's best interest in mind. And honestly believe that this is one of the best things about being on a team is that we're all there to help each other with that. So any questions on that? Yes.
So your partners with your husband?
Kind of, sort of, yep. Right now, he's a referral agent, so he's not actively doing a lot. Just he has his license and it's active with the state, but here he's a referral agent, so he just passes off any leads and gets paid a referral fee for that.
I mean,
Yep. And we're actually right now we've been making appointments with some of the other high producing agents and couples and trying to figure out how they're navigating it and how we can do better with our systems and how to get him more involved. Trying to figure that out. Yeah, so but on my real estate team, the Red Sign team, we have a sales manager that holds us accountable. We have weekly meetings with him. And, all right, have you done your calls? Did you log your calls? Like, are you tracking who you've talked to and what your conversations were about? We all struggle with that one the most.
and you guys all are using Command.
Nope.
No.
Command isn't great for a team. It's really good for solo agents or like for a couple, like for my husband and I, we could probably use Command and be effective that way. They haven't figured out how to quite make it as effective for a team because you have to have where your databases intersect. So when you have a list of new leads or the ones that have been sitting there, just they've been working on them for a little while, but they haven't assigned them to somebody else yet. Then they have to have a way for them to interact with each other, and command hasn't really done that yet. So our team pays for Brivity, which is a higher level, more expensive CRM. But I personally love command and wish we used it more. There's, yeah, so much that it can do. But there's only so much time. I can't try to work out of 2 CRMs right now. So, okay, so going back to our accountability and stuff, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. So if you're not keeping track of the calls you've made and how many of those have led to appointments, you don't know your conversion rates. So that's why we track things. Okay, so our first success, daily success tracker step is, why is that? Oh, no, accountability was your first one. This is the second one. In this is to add 10 contacts to your database daily. I've only met one person that really worked hard to make sure that happened, because that's kind of a lot to think about. Like, I have to add 10 people. I cheated, sort of, because I already had all of them. I just had to organize them. But pretty much that's the idea behind it, that if you do that, then you're building these relationships. And the idea is that those contacts have agreed to be in a two-way relationship with you. So when I was at our real estate convention, and they call it Family Reunion this year in February, I took a class, and the agent in there was talking about how she made that her goal for the first, I don't even know how long. I'm going to add 10 contacts. She goes to the grocery store and she's talking to the lady at the counter, and then she just starts chatting it up and gets her information. Hey, I'd like to stay in contact with you. And she puts her in her database. And because of the conversation, whatever it was that she had said, that lady knew she was going to be reaching out to her and staying in contact. She had a little girl come to her house to try to sell her like Girl Scout cookies or something. And she's like, hi, I love it. I will write a check, but I need to take it to your mom. What's your address? What's your mom's name? And so she went over to her mom and had like this long conversation. Oh, look at your house. Love your house. I love what you did with this. And then she lets her in and she talks about real estate. Oh, I'd love to keep you updated on the real estate. And so she adds her to her database. So she was very creative at finding ways to get people added. So holding open houses, that's a good way to get people added to your database. Inviting people to an event. Hey, let's go to axe throwing, bring a friend. So if you invite 2 friends and you ask them to bring 2 friends or another friend, then you've just found 2 more people that now you can connect with, right? So part of adding people to your database, what kind of things do you think you need when you add them to your database? What information? Name, phone number, email. Anything else? Age, maybe, if you're saying birth date. Weight, probably not so much, other than, hey, if you know somebody that's really fit and that's important to them, and you have some event coming up, hey, this race is coming up, do you want to do the race with us? That's a good touch point, and it's a relationship builder. Hey, I'm going to get a bunch of women together and we're going to do this relay race, whatever, you know, or we're going to do this yoga class. Are you interested in that? And it just gives you that extra opportunity. So having notes like that is great. I really wish I could pull up my database for you, or my spreadsheet, because it's in the amount of information I have.
See, or your spreadsheet, because I don't even know what a spreadsheet actually looks like, because I have not been in the business world at all. So
Yeah, no, I can pull it up after. It'll just take a second for me to dive in there. But so yeah, the most important things are obviously their name and phone number, email address so that you can send them newsletters, right? their home address. If you can get their home address, then you can say, oh, this is what's happening on in your market. And Command has a way to send like a monthly, it can be weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly market update for that area. If they are renting, you can still do it for that area so they can see what homes are going for in that area. Or you can say, well, when you move, where would you really like to go? And then you send them a market update for that area, just so you can keep an eye on what the market's doing, so that when that day comes and you're ready, you already kind of know what the values are doing and what's happening. So that one, you don't have to have a specific address, be a zip code or a community neighborhood or something. You can do it by drawing a map over the area, or putting in a specific zip code, things like that. That's really awesome. So in the app, you can add them into your database from the app. When you set up your website and they go register through your website portal, then it adds them into Command. So that's really awesome. Okay, so that's kind of the basics of adding somebody new. Yes.
Just going through our contacts, putting them in. We don't have to like, at this point, ask, do you mind if you're in my database? That's
Right.
more, we're gonna call them later.
Yep.
And
Yep.
do you mind if
It
send you
doesn't,
this?
you can put people in there that don't have permission, as long as you're not sending them stuff until you have permission. That's the best way to do it, is to make sure that, but putting everybody you know into your database, so that then you can have tasks that remind you, oh, try reaching out to this person now. We have it on our system that quarterly we call certain letters. That's one of the things that you'll learn about as you go through the DTD2 system for calling people, so that you make sure that you're calling them quarterly. I don't feel like I finished answering your question. Okay.
Can I ask you a
Yes,
piggyback
please.
question?
Yes, do.
Look through my database, I see like, here's a list of 11 people, per page. And I think, would call her, wouldn't ever call him. Would call him, would never call her. Like, I know that there are different levels, like you kind of categorize SOIA, B, C, whatever, but like how many people, I would send a newsletter to some of these people. Like, how many people do I want in my database that I really don't ever feel comfortable calling? Do I want to kind of weed those out? What do I do with that?
If you are, I never delete people's information, because you just never know when you'll see something on social media and want to reach out, and that will start that door opening again in a way that maybe makes you feel more comfortable. So I never do that. Will I put them in my SOIB or whatever? Yeah. Yep. So that I'm not calling them quarterly.
SOIA.
So the way the Millionaire Real Estate Agent suggests you do it is you have 200 people in your SOIA that you call quarterly, that you invite to all your events, and that by doing that, I can't remember the statistics or the math, that 1 of every 10 or 12 people in your database will do business with you that year, or we'll give you a referral for somebody that will do business with you. So that magic number is like 200 of people that you're consistently touching. So if they're in your database, in your 200, but you're never going to call them, then that's not really 200, right? So, right. So, yes.
Question was asked on those quarterlies, when you're supposed to call them. Jessica had asked, do you have to call them, or can you reach out to them via text, or even, message them on Messenger or connect with them on Facebook, any one of those venues? And I thought, that's brilliant. I didn't think of that, because to me, it would be too robotic to be like, well, I got to do my quarterly call now, but when that door opened in my brain about, oh, that is a personal touch. If you contact them via social media.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts about that?
So conversation is always going to be better. A verbal one, like whether that's in person or over the phone, is always going to be, because you can hear more, you can sense more. But sometimes people just don't have time to do that, won't answer the phone. So a lot of times we'll make the call, and that counts. Even just calling and leaving a message, hey, I was thinking about you. And then sending, you can follow it up with a text if you want, but you don't have to. Them seeing that you called is enough of a touch on those in-betweens. You don't actually have to talk to them. You're just making the call. But having some sort of conversation. So if I have a conversation with somebody over text, then sometimes, yeah, I'll count that. Like, okay, this was good enough to let them know that I cared, and it was more than just a, hey, how you doing? And everybody's like, fine. You're like, are you really though? And it's having that where you go a little bit deeper with people. Did that answer your question that way? Okay, of course. Okay, so we want to make sure we get them added to our database. The third part of your daily success is 10 handwritten notes. I'm not kidding you guys. This is the best thing you can do.
Really?
Yeah. So I used to be really, really good at notes before I had kids. And now my husband and I have a service that we do. And then they're not handwritten, but they're so personal, and everybody calls us. Thank you so much for yesterday. We had one. It's like, thank you so much for the card. You guys are such great friends. And he was graduating from BYU with his master's, and we sent him a congratulations card. And he reached out to us to say thank you. Who thanks you for a card? We get him. Nope, nothing. Nope. I have received multiple referrals this year because we send out birthday cards this way. We'll find, we have a cute quote that we have on the inside. It has our picture and Donner Party on the back of it. And then, like, we really didn't put anything real estate related on there. Occasionally we'll say, put our phone numbers in there depending on who it's going to. But I had an agent I worked with on my previous team that I helped move to Idaho. Like, I sold his house here, so he moved to Idaho. And we sent him a birthday card, and he reached out on social and said, hey, thanks for that. And we were going to connect, and we still hadn't had a conversation. 2 weeks goes by, and he sent me a referral of somebody down here that wanted to buy and sell. And like, this is great. Just random that he knew, but he knew I cared. I had sent him stuff before throughout this time that he's been there. And I think that's just, you just never know what that one thing is. It's really going to touch somebody, but making sure you stay top of mind. So
It's not like hard in it. It's
Nope.
more of a personal.
it's very, very personal. Yep. So anytime you have on these cards, because they go through the computer, we can put pictures on them. So a lot of times we'll put their picture. Like if they have a new baby and they put a picture on social media, we can take it and put it on the card. And they're super nice cards. So they can stand up and people save them. They save them. We save, my husband will send them to me all the time. Look, here's your cute grandbaby. And so
Do you have an office here?
no, I don't right now. I can bring one back though. So
I can see that they would want their own picture.
Mhm. Yep.
But
No,
somebody else
on
is
the
like,
on the back of ours is just a little square that has my husband and I picture in it. Sometimes it's like if we do Christmas cards, it'll have our whole family on the back. But yeah, so they're super nice cards, and we pay like $100 a month, and you can send up to 10 cards a day. And he sends 10 cards every day. That is his goal. And he's been doing that for 6 months now, I think. And we get people all the time call us, I love this card so much. And it's not handwritten, but I still have tons of cards in my house, so we can do handwritten stuff too. So after like an appointment with somebody, I can write, thank you for taking the time to meet with me, drop it right in the mail. And it's just another touch point, right? So don't overthink these 10 handwritten notes. It's just do it, right? Just thanks, I'm thinking about you today. Or it could be, oh, it was so nice to meet you at this event. Thanks for being the agent on the other side of a transaction, sending them a thank you and continuing to add them to your database, because you just never know when they might come to Keller Williams and be part of our profit share, things like that, right? That
So you might never know when you're on the other side of a transaction again.
Yep.
Multiple offer situation, and
yes, and you've built that already, that trust that you know that you're going to get your client to the closing table. That's huge. Yes, things that will distinguish you from other agents. And it's just that one more reminder. Again, it doesn't have to be super fancy cards. You don't have to spend $5 on a card at the store just to send, you know, I get the packets of them at, I don't know, Hobby Lobby or something, where they're just blank cards with some weird pattern on the outside. I don't even care. But the fact that you wrote a handwritten note in there and mailed it to them, people just don't take the time to do that. And a text message just doesn't leave the same impression, right? Like, oh, I got a thank you in a text. How many people are you going to tell that you got a thank you in a text, right? But if you got a card, like, oh yeah, she gave me this great thank you note, and it would have said the same thing. But the fact that you took the time. Okay, any other questions or thoughts on this? On your daily success habits? Any ahas there? So here's the little chart they have for that. So you can track this. This is a great way for you to start tracking your daily habits, right? Are you doing 10 conversations a day? Have you added your 10 contacts, 10 written notes? When I did it, they had one more 10, because we called it the 410. And that was seeing 10 homes. And I was like, we actually have to go see. No, it was more like getting on and looking at 10 properties. What are they selling for? What's going on in the market? It just allows you to keep an idea of what's happening. So you look at 10 new listings, or you're looking for a specific client and you look at 10 properties. Now they have this 10-5-1 social media engagement that will come up later in Ignite. And then any other like enrichment activities that you do. So for me, I always have a goal to spend time learning every day. So whether it's a podcast or a book or writing out my goals, or working on my health, things like that. Anything that to enrich you, taking a class, your continuing education classes, things like that, right? And however many appointments, the agreements that you have signed, and the number of closings. Those are all great things to track. Any questions on that? Did everybody get the picture? Or yes?
So many books and all these classes, so I'm not sure if I have a lot of time for more, but
while you're driving, it's always good to throw on a podcast. So Keller Williams has a couple. They have Gary Keller does one that's the CEO, I think CEO, and Millionaire Real Estate Agent. I'm pretty sure is one of what it's called. It's been a second since I looked at the name of it. I just turn them on. And The One Thing, that's another book that Gary Keller has written. And it's like, what's the one thing I can do right now that by doing it, everything else becomes easier? It's making your calls. But that's not always, I mean, that's not like the whole podcast isn't about making your calls. It's like, okay, so this week I have XYZ thing. My daughter graduates high school or whatever it is. That is my most important thing this week. And if I can take care of that and get that done, everything else will be easier, right? But for some, it's like, if I make my 10 conversations today, everything else today will be easier if I start with that versus putting it off and putting it off, and it hangs over you and weighs you and you're just like, oh my gosh, when am I going to do that? So that's the one thing. My husband goes walking every morning. He listens to Ed Milet. Love Ed Milet. He is so great. He interviews a ton of people. He imparts great wisdom. He grew up with an alcoholic father and had all these issues and troubles growing up, and how he's overcome it and has a relationship with his father now and all these things. So trying to look at my other ones. Come on in, Cameron. You're spying. Like, oh, we don't want her to teach again. No, I'm trying to think what else I had on here. Bigger Pockets is always a good one too. If you don't know, that's more on investing. They do a lot of stuff that way, but it's a good one to have on there. My list is Red Sign Team. They have a podcast and they keep updated on the market. Yep. So it's called the Red Sign Podcast. Ninja Selling, that's a good one. Oh, Think Like a CEO. That was the one with Gary Keller. But it doesn't always have to be real estate related either, right? I have the podcast 100, the Happiness Project, and some religious ones, some other networking. Brendan Burchard is one of my mentors. I just love that guy so much. He does a lot of like high level working on yourself and your goals and making sure all those things, success habits type stuff. Anyway, so those are some of the other good podcasts and things, books to read like that. Yeah, any other questions? Thoughts on this stuff? Do you guys have a favorite podcast that you're listening to?
I've been listening to the Ignite recordings on my driving, and that's been great. I can't come to the classes. I love that they're recorded.
Yes. Yep. I wish that they had more of that readily available when I started too. But I even was listening to one last night that Hunter did a couple months ago. I was like, oh, I love that. And he's on my team. I talk to him all the time, right? And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool to hear that perspective of it. And how he was a new agent. I mean, he's still only like 22 or something, been doing this like 3 years, but how far he's come, and he has investment properties already, and just because he's been able to stay focused on the goals that he has and building that wealth has been awesome. Okay, so a couple other things is role playing, right? Practice talking to people. So make it a goal that every time you come into class, that you walk up and introduce yourself to somebody else and do it like you would on a phone call, right? Hi, I'm Adrienne Donner with KW Westfield, not Keller Williams. We say KW Westfield because that's what our brokerage is. You could say Keller Williams Westfield, but not just Keller Williams. You want to identify yourself always, whether it's with another agent or with people when you're calling about specific things. Like if you call on a specific property, you always want to identify yourself, so they know that you're a licensed agent, not just some lead or whatever. But practicing those kind of things, practicing your handshake, that eye contact, and then practice your Ford script, right? Like, oh, how's your family? And it could have been that you talked to her today, and on Monday, how was your weekend? What did you do with your family? Oh yeah, how many kids do you have again? Oh, and what were they doing? And then you just start in, oh, what else? What are your goals for this week, right? So then our dreams, our goals, and what does your husband do for work? And that just keeps that practice. And the more you do it, the more automatic it becomes and easier. Okay, so we are almost out of time, so we won't do the role playing today.
In that role play,
Mhm.
in that conversation we're having, see someone that you haven't met in a while, what are you hoping to drop? What are you hoping, obviously, you're hoping to bring up that you, maybe that we just got into real estate. You're hoping to see if you can help them with any real estate needs. But what would be like a success measure?
If it's somebody you bump into or something, right?
Just letting them know.
That you care.
That's to say, I let them know I'm starting real estate.
Yeah, right now, absolutely. Just say, oh yeah, I'm just making a career in real estate now. And, I would love to be able to stay in touch and let you know what's going on in the market. Is that okay? But I would say if you bump into somebody you hadn't seen for a while, ask them for their phone number. I would love to stay in touch with you. Can I just get your phone number and put it right into your phone? And then we have on our team our phone. Well, most of us have, no, we all have iPhones. I think it's a requirement to be on the Red Sign team.
No green bubbles on the red sign.
So it's kind of funny, but we joke about that. It's not real, but everybody has an iPhone. So
You did? That's the signing bonus.
yeah.
Get on the red
Yeah. Oh, so funny. But anyway, if you go into your contacts at the top, I don't know, on Android, I haven't had Android for a while, but my information's right there and I can scroll down and share my contact card. So if I get their number, so now I know I have their number, I send them my contact card and say, just add me. And then anytime my email comes through or one of my phone numbers called them, whether it's my CRM number or my personal number, my picture pops up. My father-in-law gets so excited every time I call him. That's the best picture. I just love it so much. How did you do that? How did you put it on my phone? I'm like, you added me as a contact. That's how.
I want to share someone else's.
So, well, at the top, you should have, if you've put your stuff in there, you should be the first one on your list on an iPhone.
Okay, so like that page or no?
No, it's at the top of your contact.
At the very, so if you go into your contact list,
Oh, yeah,
So,
my card.
Like,
yeah, and at the top it has your card right there. And then you scroll down just like you would in any other contact and go to share. Yep. And you can still, and anytime you can pick and choose what you share. It gives you the little bubbles and you say, oh, so I have a junk email address that's still on my contact card or whatever that I won't share, but I'll put the office address, and like all my social media links are on here. So they would have that automatically. Oh yeah, it's in the contact, just click on it and I'll take you to Facebook. And so they can connect with me that way. Absolutely. In fact, my contact shows right there. So when you look at it, it says Adrienne Donner. My last name is Donner Realtor. Oh, yep.
have you guys seen this? Even though it's not doing it. Well,
Maybe
that's
mine's not
nifty.
set up or something right now.
Why is it not doing it?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Your airdrop has to be on. I know that, but I don't even know how to turn on.
No, my airdrop's always on.
Where's the airdrop bubble?
Oh, mine says contacts only. That's why. Everyone for 10 minutes. Okay, now it should work.
Airdrops to your contacts only, so you can't share a contact versus everyone for 10 minutes, then you would be able to.
Oh my gosh, you're so great. Thank you. Oh, it's not doing it.
There it goes.
Okay, so then I go share.
There it is. I gotcha.
Awesome.
So
I can
anyway,
pick-
so my name on there is Adrienne Donner Realtor. So every time the call comes in, it says Realtor.
Okay, so no, look here. I'm looking at yours. And all it shows is your phone number.
Okay, so if I connect it like that, then apparently it doesn't do everything else, but it still has my name.
Yeah.
If I send it to you the other way though, now that I have that, I can send you my card, Scarlett. Let me go down here to my share contact.
And by the way, this has been.
Thank you. But now that you're in my phone, I can send it to you.
Also, it doesn't work if you're doing it that way.
Apparently
You have
not.
to do it another way.
If I send it like this and you just add it. So we actually had a system when we switched over to Brivity and we redid all of our contact cards and stuff, then we had a day where we texted everybody and said, here's my new contact card. It has my office number on it. So just add me in or update it or whatever. And so,
Yeah. it
so then you
shows
can see all my stuff.
completely different than when you share it.
Yeah.
right away.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Isn't that fun? And then when I, hold on, let me call you. Let's see what it comes up with when I call.
Hello, Adrienne.
But my picture. So yeah, it's super fun. I love that there's these cool technological things that make life easier and yeah.
Kind of things.
Mhm.
Email. Is it best in the beginning just to use our own personal email for things?
I don't overthink it. That's what I would say. We spent too much time overthinking it. I went through so many emails before we finally just decided to start Donner Team. So we had our own little, but ours is Adrienne at Donner Team. But I know plenty of agents that it's their first last name at Gmail, and that's fine. You get an email. Yep. Well, you'll pick your however your name, first name, last name, or Adrienne.Donner@KW. I think it's Adrienne Donner at KW. My husband had a little harder time because there's a lot of Benjamins out there, so having to do that. But yeah, you'll get set up in there. Yep. And it actually puts you into, go ahead. Yep. You can connect it. You know, I have mine and I just have it forward to my other email account. So there's some agents that use it all the time and you just log into it like you would a Gmail account. There's a way to do it once you get it set up. Yep. So in command at the top, there's also a connect button and there's a way to, it's kind of a portal into the international side of Keller Williams and you can connect with agents all over the world in there and see their profiles. And so you can update all the information in there with whatever you want to. So, okay, do you guys have any other questions or ahas or?
This little one you dropped at the end is so awesome. Just like the contacts sharing, I didn't know you could do it that easily. And like, I'm just sitting here updating my photo. This is very useful. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a great aha right there.
I would love to see your, like, if you want, we're able to share your contact, I'd love to see your professional contact card, how that looks.
Yep.
You're able to airdrop it to us.
Oh, I haven't tried it that way to see if it comes through the same way. Let's try it. Well, let me try the airdrop first so I know. Go back to this.
So you don't have to be on AirDrop, but you do have to be on Wi-Fi or no when you share it.
No, you
Not
can do
Wi-Fi.
both. It's
No.
just your AirDrop is available to her. Like if you're trying to share your contact
Yeah.
with Adrienne and she doesn't have it, she's not in your contacts and you can't share anything with her. That's why you have to change it.
Just that setting. You had that setting that you only share airdrop with your contacts.
I just have to when I was in school, it's supposed to be all these, it's so funny they airdrop random things too.
Yeah. I don't want random pictures.
Really?
Okay, let's see who's on airdrop. I got Scarlett is the only one that I can see on. Oh, hold on. I've got Paolo's MacBook. I have an iPhone 3, an iPhone 10, and Agent's MacBook. I don't know who's who. And it's your, oh, wait, There's Taryn. I see a Katie, a Taryn,
How come none of them have faces on?
because maybe they haven't updated on there very well. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm still doing. You're good. It's almost done overall. Okay, then.
I'm trying to see how to add, to allow my
Oh,
airdrop to show up.
if you even just slide down. the insert
Scroll down from the,
arrow.
where's that? Right here. And you go into your
So
airdrop. That says
That's on
contacts only.
you're on
We'll
your-
do everybody for 10 minutes. There's Amy's phone. So glad you came.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Good luck with your test. Yeah, let me know if you want to study or something. And did that come through, Amy?
I'm fairly confident, but
It says waiting on my side.
It has to be some match all this program. It's just that's the aim. I just need to study more. But I think if my dad's gonna literally go flipsy with me because he's a saint. He's gonna sit there with me and do it. Help me go over it because I got so many questions on the test with it. I was like, I thought I knew it, but apparently I don't.
Oh, well, that,
So he's gonna sit there with me.
see, you should put these contacts in your phone too and say, hey, let's study the Repsy together. Even though you're just trying to do it for the test right now, they need to learn it for their appointments.
Upside down.
Just know that they change it periodically. So it's already changed once this year. It'll change again in July.
Oh, it's changed. What
Yep.
changed?
Just kind of the description on the, I can picture where it is on the Repsy and now my mind is
Okay.
just some of the language because of the lawsuit and stuff. They had to jump in and change some of those things already. Yeah, something in there about that. So, because our team spent one of our team meetings going over them and seeing the changes and like, oh, I've never read it like this. It's funny. Oh, if you guys are religious, we read scriptures and you'll read it one time and a year later you read it and you're like, oh, I've never thought about it. Like that's the Repsy, I swear. Like, oh, from this perspective and this deal, like, oh, that's interesting. So
Different things jump out at you.
yes,
based on
did
your
that come through?
experience.
Okay,
Okay. So can I pick your brain about?
so call me. Let's just see what happens when you call me.
Our version, since November, had a problem with
Your
that.
realtor for life.
Mhm.
I love it.
And then, I was.
I don't have my professional photo and I don't, it looks like no photo.
No, it doesn't have one that comes through on there.
Is it on your poster?
I think it finally just spurred.
I don't think so. I don't.
Yeah,
So
mine
go
didn't,
under
mine didn't
contacts.
show up on there either. So let me see if I call you back, what happens.
Get your card.
One second.
Okay, now you're calling me.
Yes, yep. I just want to see if my whole picture,
Oh.
yeah, that's interesting. It doesn't come up
But it-
the
but I
same
got
way.
that.
Yeah.
I think if you accept it and you're talking, then your picture might come up.
Oh, right.
Mm.
I've seen that before. So if you say,
Not more.
sorry, edit, and you go to,
It's been a fun couple months.
Yeah, no, and then I can get so close. I would feel like
Stress.
why didn't I just do this?
The body starts reacting.
Would you like the photos?